Sup, everyone. We got Joey D and Timmy B back at it again for our week 3 recap of the NFL season. Boy, Joe, it was quite an exciting week for numerous reasons. A lot of good games, a lot of bad games, a couple of injuries here and there, and then even some NFL records. But my friend, how are you doing today?
Tim, we're doing well today. Monday night was a rough night, and
Oof.
Tuesday morning as well. But we bounced back. We're feeling good. Can't wait to face our week 4 opponent, and we're looking forward to that. So it's been a fun start to the week, and just looking forward. It was a great weekend for football, man. A lot of
Yeah,
really good games.
absolutely, and we'll definitely pick that pleasant week 4 matchup that you guys have later this week for you guys. But before we hop into the first game that we are going to be recapping, make sure you hit that thumbs up button to like this video. As we said in a couple of videos ago, Joe wants 100 billion likes by the end of the season. So let's get the ball
100
rolling.
billion.
Yes, 100 billion. Also, subscribe to our channel as well to show your support for both myself and Joey D. Now, Joey D, first game that we're going to be talking about, the Falcons defeated the Giants 17-14. You went with the Falcons. I went with the Giants. I lost. And it was as expected. We both said that this would be probably an ugly game and probably whoever gets the ball last. And in this case, it was the Falcons and Young Wei Koo kicked a game-winning 40-yard field goal. What were your thoughts from this game?
There's not a whole lot of
Mhm,
thoughts outside of this Giants team is really bad.
mhm,
Like they've gone out and they've done what they can to surround Daniel Jones with talent, but offensive line is still terrible. Saquon Barkley has a somewhat of a bounce back game, and they still lose. It's just bad from top to bottom. I mean, this is a Falcons defense that the Eagles scored 30 points on. You would hope that the Giants can put up more than 14
mhm.
points against, what's been a bad defense so far and historically, at least in the past couple of years. So, it's a very tough loss for New York, and things just do not seem to be getting any better. And I'm not really sure what the solution is. How do you clean house from a cultural standpoint that's been going on for a while. I mean, they've already changed GMs and head coaches, quarterbacks. There's so much that needs to be done, and I'm not really sure what the solution is. So it's a tough time for the fans of the New Jersey Giants.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm with you. I mean, the Giants had more yards. They had about 2 minutes more possession, more first downs as well. And it's like, I don't even know what to do when you have Saquon Barkley. You have this amazing talent that you just don't build your offensive line. Like, there's no denying that Saquon is a very talented running back in this league. I mean, he squats like a jillion pounds. So it's like, how do you not get him protection, especially with a young quarterback like Daniel Jones? And I mean, if, it has to be, they have to do something, whether it's Jason Garrett and the play calling or just a clean sweep of everybody. But the Giants aren't looking too good, and the Falcons are still bad. They're just a little bit better than the Giants at,
Exactly.
at least this week. So we'll see. Maybe the Falcons make a little run. Their schedule's a little bit tough, but it's not looking good for the Giants. And I mean, I guess on the flip side is that they might be picking early because they have their own first round pick and the Bears first round pick. So they might have some early draft capital for whoever might be coming in, a new regime to get some key pieces. But this is a brutal look for the New York Giants.
Yeah, that's right. Like I said at the beginning, I wasn't sure if it was going to be the Giants or the Lions as the worst team in the NFC. And, right now, with the way the Lions are playing as well, it's looking definitively like the New York Giants.
Yeah. No, the Lions are definitely surprising. Not aside from that game that we'll talk about in a little bit, but even in week 1 and week 2. Now we're moving on, Joe, to a game that we thought wasn't going to be close, and the score would suggest that it wasn't, but boy, did the Cardinals have to come back against the Jaguars, winning the game 31-19. Jaguars are up 19-10, and then 3 unanswered touchdowns from the Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray. Jacksonville, of course, had a kick six off of a 68-yard field goal attempt from Matt Prater. And then they weren't doing terrible, but at the end of the day, Kyler Murray, Cliff Kingsbury, and company went in there in the second half, dominated, scored the TDs necessary, and the Cardinals pull out a win. But by no means, like, did I consider this really a bad loss from the Jaguars.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I mean, going into halftime, the Jaguars looked like they were in control, and the Cardinals, couldn't figure out how to get things going on offense.
Mhm.
And that was the real story, how poorly the Cardinals offense did in the first half. I mean, it wasn't like the Jags offense was doing a lot better. They just had that kick six that, really gave them a lot of momentum going into halftime. And this was a really exciting game for big
Mhm.
plays because, then the momentum swung right back when Trevor Lawrence throws just an awful interception.
Off of a flea
Um,
flicker.
yeah, off of a flea flicker, off his back foot. I mean, I get it, JJ Watt's in your face, but that ball just hung in the air for way too long, and we saw the result. So, Jags have to find a way to play a complete football game. I mean, we're seeing a little bit of the flashes of the talent that's there, but Urban Meyer has to
Mhm.
figure out how to keep these guys motivated, keep the foot on the gas the entire game, and we'll see if the Jags can pull out a win or two this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And if that doesn't happen, then that's definitely a rookie mistake from Trevor Lawrence. I think any seasoned veteran would at least try to throw the ball away or maybe just even take the sack. But if that doesn't happen, it's a one score game. And who knows, maybe if they go down and score a touchdown, now it's 26-17 or 25-17, and the Cardinals really have to claw back that time. But yeah, I think my only key concern is the Cardinals running game. Of course, James Conner had 2 touchdowns, but I'm seeing 11 carries for 43 yards. And needless to say, they have Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, and a great passing game. But there's going to be a couple of games this year where somebody might be stopping Kyler Murray and somebody might be stopping these wide receivers. So can the Cardinals win from the run game alone and running and defense? Time will tell, but right now I'm going to say no.
Yeah, there's definitely some concerns for the Cardinals, especially with such a tough division. I mean, the Jags are definitely one of the worst teams in the league, and they play in the best division in football, in my opinion. So, it's only going to get tougher. I mean, they haven't played anybody in their division yet. I mean, who have they played so far? Between the Jags and um, shoot,
They
I'm
played the
forgetting.
Vikings, the Jags, and the Titans. I believe
That's
I
right.
believe their game this week is actually against the Rams. So that'll be
Okay.
it is a division game this year or this week. I'm pretty sure it's the Rams, but I guess we'll discuss and pick that later in the week.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that'll be a really good game. I'm
Yeah,
excited for that.
absolutely. And then we're moving on to a blowout. The Bills defeating the Washington football team by a score of 43-21. Joe, you're now 4-0. I am 3-1. Shout out to the New York Giants. And this game was never a doubt. The Bills forced some early turnovers, got short fields, and then they executed. I mean, they went up 21-0, 28-0. Now, credit to the football team. They did come back a little bit. Heineke didn't make any more mistakes and they were moving the ball and scoring a little bit, but the story of the football team has to be their defense is ranked 31st in the league. People were thinking this might have been the best defense in the league this year, of course going up against Josh Allen. But I mean, we saw last week that's not how you bounce back, especially after having extra rest. It wasn't a good look for the football team, but Bills, as we predicted, do look to be back as they were last year and just dominating Josh Allen, throwing it like crazy. Again, kind of like the Cardinals, run game wasn't that strong, but I think that they can improve and they do have some good pieces. But yeah, that's my takeaway is this football team's defense is yikes, not as good as
Yeah.
we thought.
Yeah. No, that really is the main concern right now. I mean, Chase Young still has yet to record a
Mhm.
sack, I believe, this season. And I mean, we're not seeing this pass rush really show up. I mean, that's what they've built this whole defense around their front seven. I mean, their secondary isn't exactly filled with a bunch of studs. They're good players, and when the front seven is playing really well, then these guys can take advantage. But when that front seven is not elite, the entire defense really struggles, and
Mhm.
we're seeing that show up right now. And also on the flip side, their offense isn't exactly helping them out too much either. And I think they are missing Ryan Fitzpatrick right now.
Mhm.
Um, who for however much crap we give Ryan Fitzpatrick, I mean, I still think he's better than what we're seeing out of Heineke. I mean, Heineke is okay at best, but there's a reason this guy has always been named a backup wherever he goes, even in the XFL.
Mhm. Yeah, no, absolutely. So, only time will tell to see what the football team, if it's any consolation, they are in the NFC East. So there's always still a chance to win the division. But
That's right.
Bills still look like they're the favorite in the AFC East, of course, based on the other teams that we will definitely talk about. And now we're going from a defense that has been disappointing so far to a defense that's probably, I don't want to say doing better, but the Browns defense beating the Bears 26-6 this week, sack after sack after sack against Justin Fields, who's a very athletic and very special talent. And hopefully he can be successful in future years with the Chicago Bears or in the NFL. But yeah, this Browns defense, I think Justin Fields, or I think the Bears had like a net yardage of like net passing yards of like three. Like it was just
Yeah.
insane. And offensively, they did exactly what they needed to do. They just ran the football with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and they escaped this game 26-6. Now, are you? I guess, just what are your thoughts on this game? I mean, is it Justin Fields was bad? Is it the play calling? Was it the Browns defense just better, had a better game plan execute? I guess what are your thoughts from this game?
I mean, there are so many factors that go into what happened on
Hmm.
Sunday in this game. I mean, number one, this Bears offensive line is, very, very bad. I mean, they're
Yes.
injured and they're down to a lot of backups. I mean, Jason Peters is trotting out there, and my God, dude, just retire. Like, this is such a bad look at this point for a guy who, is a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame. This is not how he should go
Hmm.
out. But so like you said, with the defensive line, that the Browns have, it's just such a mismatch there. So you start there, the mismatch is already in the Browns' favor. Justin Fields is a rookie quarterback, and he's already, and this is his first game starting. He's already behind the eight ball. Just being a rookie, but now he's behind this terrible offensive line going up against a great pass rush. And then your head coach is not putting you in favorable positions. This was a terrible offensive game plan by Matt Nagy. I mean, all he did was get his QB killed the entire game. And, this is a guy that you spent a first round draft pick on and is
Hmm.
supposed to be your future. So, not encouraging for Justin Fields' outlook for the future, not encouraging for Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace's outlook for the future. Just a very, very, uh, you know, kind of everything that could have gone wrong for the Bears in this game did go wrong, and now there are a lot of questions about the future in Chicago. So, you know, I was not, very sold on Justin Fields, when they
Hmm.
drafted him because, the Bears are in the and Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace are in the situation where they're kind of desperate and, just trying to throw a Hail Mary to keep their jobs or get longer job security. And, now we're really starting to see it just, show up and be a problem. So
Hmm.
I'm definitely concerned for Chicago.
Yeah, and there definitely are rumors saying that the
I'm
Bears
listening, Tim.
that if the Bears do lose to the Lions this week, that Matt Nagy could be fired. And a lot of people are hopefully wishing that happened. So we'll see what happens. And speaking of those Detroit Lions, the next game we're talking about, Joe, is the Ravens beating the Lions by a score of 19-17. That moves you to 6-0 and to me 5-1. And Justin Tucker, baby.
Oh yeah.
That's all I got to say, baby. 66-yard field goal, an NFL record by 2 yards, shattered. I believe the previous record was 64. So a 66-yarder to win the football game. Ravens pull out a win that we probably should have won by a little bit more, but Hollywood Brown decided to pull his best Brashad Perriman impersonation and drop every single pass going his way. Easily could have had 2 or 3 touchdowns himself. Mark Andrews was open and he couldn't turn his body around to catch it. So this was definitely a game that the Ravens probably should have won by 10, 14, 17 points, but that's not how the game went. The Ravens decided to also not tackle, something that's always been a concern, and these are professional football players. But the Lions do mount a comeback. Jared Goff moving the ball quite well. DeAndre Swift, scoring and moving the ball as well. So definitely very fortunate the Ravens pulled out this victory. Joe, what are your thoughts from the Ravens Lions game?
Yeah, on one hand, it's you could look at it and be concerned for
Hmm.
why the Ravens are struggling with one of the worst teams in the NFL. I mean,
Hmm.
a lot of errors in terms of the drops, penalties, missed tackles,
Hmm.
missed assignments, and definitely let the Lions hang around and play down to
And
their
I
level of
said that in our
competition.
preview. I was like, we cannot let them hang around because, and this is this. I've been here as a Ravens fan. We play down to our opponent a lot of the times, and we let teams hang around for too long. And it's even the same way with a Chiefs or even like a Steelers or something like that, being like, if you let Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, any quarterback hang around, they're going to find a way to do it. So yeah, and we alluded to that too. I was like, we cannot let them hang around. And then you said that was your suicide pick this week, and I was like, Joe, come on, man, we don't need that, but we pulled it out.
We did. It was awesome. I was sweating bullets there for a second, but like I was saying, the other side of the way that you can kind of look at this is, this is another really emotional win for the Ravens, finding a way to win this game at the end. Walk off game winning field goal, record setter by Justin Tucker. I mean, absolutely best kicker in the league. And it's a luxury to have that on your team. And it reminds me of when the Eagles beat the Giants in 2017 off that walk off Jake Elliott field goal, which was I think a 61 yarder and an Eagles personal record, and just absolutely electric energy. Just kind of felt like a team of destiny that year. And with these two back to back wins, kind of like that for the Ravens, it's encouraging that even not at their best. I mean, the Eagles had to overcome a lot of injuries that season as well. And the Ravens are finding a way to do that. So I'm seeing a lot of similarities. And I'm encouraged by the Ravens. Just finding a way to overcome this. I mean, this is what brings the championship teams together. And John Harbaugh is such a good head coach, and really the right guy to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And when the schedule came out, myself and a lot of friends, we were like, all right, we'll start 2-1. We'll beat the Raiders, lose to the Chiefs, and then beat the Lions. After week one's loss, I was like, we were like, all right, 1-2, lose to the Raiders, lose to the Chiefs, beat the Lions. So the fact we're here 2-1, as a lot of us expected when the schedule came out, just not the way we thought it would go, of course. And then on the Lions side, again, they showed a lot of heart. I mean, they came back against the 49ers. They played well in the first half against the Packers. They just need to put together a complete football game, but they'll get a couple of wins. I mean, they play the Bears a couple of times. I'm sure they play another couple of weak teams. So the Lions will definitely get a win soon, hopefully. And I'm very
Yeah.
excited for that.
Tim, we do have to talk about that missed penalty at the end of the game, though,
So I have no
because
idea what you're talking about.
this is something that has continued to happen for the NFL. Just so often. I mean, it's such a stupid rule the way that it goes, because it hits double zeros, and then the refs look at if the ball is snapped, and then if it's not, then they throw the flag. Like, there's almost a whole nother second, at least half a second going after it hits double zeros before they throw the flag. And with that, it was definitely longer than usual. It was definitely longer than what I've seen, and I'm very surprised that they did not call a penalty on that play. And I mean, this is such an easy fix. Just like put a chip in the ball or something. Like just find a way to make it automatic, or like make it so a buzzer or a timer goes off when it hits double zeros, and
Mhm.
it's automatically a flag. Like, this should not be such a like, why are you leaving this room for human error when there's an
Mhm.
easy way to fix this?
No, I definitely agree. I do think that there are some very what seems to be very simple changes to some calls and the referees and everything like that. Again, I don't know what you're talking about, but allegedly there was. But you know what? As a Ravens fan, it feels pretty good to be on the other side of that, because there's been a couple of calls that didn't quite help us. I'll just say that in previous seasons and previous games, mostly against the Steelers and Patriots, of course. So definitely glad that maybe we got away with it. I mean, I don't know what you're talking about, but anyways, Joe, the next game that we're going to be discussing in the AFC North. Staying in the division, Bengals beating the Steelers 24-10. That is your first loss of the day, bringing you to 6-1. Myself 5-2, and I even said it when we picked the games. I was like, I'm
I
not
know.
confident in the Steelers. I'm like, I'm gonna pick them, and if they win, great. I win a game for our own records, and I was like, if they lose, I'm happy that they lost, and definitely happy that they did lose. And uh, this recurring theme, this offense, this offensive line, like Man, so bad. And again, a little bit banged up on the defense. And not saying Joe Burrow lit him up or anything like that, but he was able to move the football, find the open receiver, Jamar Chase, another touchdown. So
Yep.
that looks like it's going to be a scary combination for the next couple of years, of course. But Bengals pull out a win in Heinz Field.
I know this is a huge win for Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. I mean, after the game, they were talking about how they could see that the Steelers just gave up. I mean, I think
Mhm.
it was Tyler Boyd who said that they dropped three passes in a row at the end of the game. Bengals defense, that D line was really getting after Ben as well. I mean, that D line has been playing pretty well. I know Jesse Bates is out on
Mhm.
Thursday, so that's definitely a concern because he's probably their best defensive player. But they really did what they had to do against the Steelers, and for a Bengals team that has been starved for attention and moral victories, or just a real strong victory that they can pin their hats on and be proud of. I mean, this is definitely one of them. Going into Pittsburgh, winning that game and winning it in convincing fashion.
Yes.
I'm very impressed with the Bengals. Very happy for them. I can't say I'm shocked that the Steelers are looking this bad. So I'll be interested to see how Thursday night's game goes, to see if the Bengals, if they handle the Jags, then okay, maybe the Bengals
Mhm.
are better than we gave them credit for. If they struggle, if they lose, God forbid, or we'll see. But then maybe it's because the Steelers are even worse than we thought. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what we continue to learn about both of these teams as the season goes on, because Steelers have been towards the top, Bengals have been at the bottom. Now it looks like we're trending the opposite direction.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I definitely agree with you on that. And then it will be interesting to kind of see on the Steelers side as well, because we've been saying Najee Harris is amazing talent and 14 carries, 40 yards, but on the flip side, 14 receptions over 100 yards. So I think they're trying to start to understand, being like, let's
Yeah,
just get the ball in his hands. Now, of course, a lot of it was dump offs because Ben was rushed,
exactly.
but still, it's
Yeah,
like, get the ball in his hands, let him run in the open field, let him make the plays that he's used to be playing. But then again, Joe, 4th and 10, you don't run you
exactly.
don't run
A
that
little
play.
swing pass.
Right, absolutely. And it definitely does not get tougher or easier for the Steelers. I mean, they still have the Ravens twice, the Browns twice. They play the Packers this week, and I believe they play the Seahawks as well. So tougher games are ahead for the Steelers, but definitely excited to see what's coming with the Bengals, and we'll see if they do pull out 7, 8, 9 wins. We'll see what they can do to take the next step next year. So definitely exciting times in Cincinnati, and quite the opposite in Pittsburgh. Let's see what else is next. What's next? Another game that we both got wrong. Jameis Winston rolls into Foxborough, New England, and wins 28-13. Had the most Jameis Winston touchdown imaginable. He basically threw it parallel to the ground, just straight up in the air, and then a jump ball. The receiver won it. So the Saints do pull out the victory. Alvin Kamara had a good game as well. But I think the story as well is, I think people are starting to realize that Mac Jones is still a rookie. And of course, I think everybody was saying that. But as I mentioned last week, he had the highest QBR amongst the rookie quarterbacks. He still might, but he his average yards per completion is like 3. And I think even in the first half, I think he was like 1 for 7 or 1 for 8 when the pass went 15 yards or more in the air. So of course you're going to be very talented when you're ding, 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 ding. So I think the Saints defense kind of exposed that in Mac Jones, and it certainly helps that the offense moved as well. Alvin Kamara, 89 rushes, and a receiving touchdown as well. So Saints roll in, famous Jameis baby.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a couple factors with Mac Jones's performance. I mean, when we're talking about the Dinkin and Duncan, I mean, this is a guy that he's never really been, a
Mhm.
chuck it down the field kind of guy, like a big arm
Right.
Patrick Mahomes or Justin Herbert like quarterback. He's always been kind of more in that Tom Brady esque mold, but
And it helps
the
in college when you have Devonta Smith, Jalen
exactly.
Waddle, just throw it to them and let them go, you
Right.
know?
And that's what I was just going to say now.
Mhm.
Look at his weapons that he has in New England. I mean, we're talking Jacoby Myers, Nelson Aguilar, Johnu Smith, Damian Harris. I mean, he's not exactly surrounded with a lot of talent. So, the opportunities aren't exactly there for him to, go very deep. And, he's trying to play conservative against a very good Saints defense. I mean, I think that's also a big part of this game and something we're starting to see. This is a pretty good Saints defense. I mean,
Right.
they struggled against Carolina week 1, but I mean, since then, the is that right? I feel like I might have just mixed that up.
Saints beat the Packers, lost to the Panthers in week 2.
There it is. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Tim. Um, so yeah, I mean, they've had some good performances. I mean, that defense played phenomenal against Rodgers, not as great against Carolina, pretty good against Mac Jones. So they're a talented bunch on defense, and Sean Payton is a very good head coach. So James can not make the turnovers, get the Camara, and the defense plays well. That's really the formula for success for New Orleans, and I think that's kind of a similar formula for the
Mhm.
Patriots, but not as talented on offense in terms of, I mean, Damian Harris is their version of Alvin Kamara, and, their receiving cores are pretty similar. Saints offensive line is much better, and, right now their defense is playing better too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and then the big thing with the Patriots offense is they abandoned the run basically immediately. I mean, Mac Jones was tied for the most carries with 6 and had the most yards. I mean, when you have what's the guy's name? Damian Harris and James White and some of these other running backs only giving him 4 or 5 carries, and it's not like the Saints went up 14-21, nothing like that. I mean, Saints punted and 3 and out, Saints score a touchdown, Patriots 3 and out, Saints miss a field goal, Patriots 3 and out, Saints 3 and out. So this was a game that was still a one-score game within reach, and your bread and butter is the offensive line and running the football. So it was kind of weird, obviously, in the second half. Completely understand when you're down 21-3, 21-6, you got to move the ball a little bit quicker to save yourself some time. But early in the game, they just weren't running the football. But then again, credit to the Saints defense. I mean, like I just said, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, then blocked a punt, then an interception. So definitely for sure, like, you got to get the ball rolling a little bit with that run game for the Patriots, but and it doesn't get any easier because a certain someone is coming into town this weekend. If in case you didn't know, if, for anybody who lives under a rock, we'll talk about it again. But Tom Brady is returning to New England this Sunday, so
Oh, he is. Oh, I had no
yes.
idea.
Yes, he is. But the Saints are looking good, and we'll see once they play the Buccaneers later in the year to see where they kind of gauge within their own division, or if they play another divisional game that's not the Panthers. Moving on to another divisional matchup, one that we basically the two best teams in the division. Well, it's easy to be the two best teams when you're with the Texans and Jaguars. We got the Titans beating the Colts 25-16. We both predicted this, and it kind of went as expected. I thought the Colts would be able to move the ball a little bit. It was a close game at first, but then the Titans pulled away in the second half. They did lose A.J. Brown very early on. Definitely hurt a couple of my fantasy lineups for sure, Joe. But the Titans pulled away and basically said, "This is our division, and you're not going to take it."
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot to talk about here. I mean, Wentz did not look himself. I mean, he's
Mhm.
not at his best. The offensive line is, struggling to, protect a quarterback who wants to hold on to the ball a little bit longer than they're used to, and they're not playing their best. Jonathan Taylor had a pretty good game. They're doing a good job of, at least trying to get him a little bit more involved, but they just really don't have the weapons on the perimeter or, even at tight end or at the skill positions to, score a lot of points and make those big plays. And, that's what Wentz is reliant upon. Defense forced a lot of turnovers and played a very good game, I thought. It's just like I said, I mean, when your offense is struggling to move the ball and you're on the field the entire game and Derrick Henry is coming downhill at you almost every
Mhm.
play, you're eventually gonna fold to that pressure. So, it's tough for the Colts. I love to see it. Carson played 100% of the snaps, and the Colts lost. So this draft pick is looking great. And now, Carson or the Colts and the Dolphins are going to play. So that'll be fun since the Eagles get both of their first round picks. And I will reveal on our next episode my prediction and who I want to win that game.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, as I just mentioned with the Patriots, they have Jonathan Taylor and Naeem Hines. Jonathan Taylor, 10 for 64, so having himself a pretty good game, averaging 6.4 yards. And then Naeem Hines, 6 for 25, also had a touchdown. And this game was close the entire time. I mean, it was 7-7, 10-7, 10-10, 13-10, 13, So this was a close game throughout. And then the Titans just executed in the third and fourth quarters to go ahead by multiple scores. So again, it's like, why is Carson Wentz throwing almost 40 times in a game where your bread and butter is the run game and that offensive line, especially with the Colts weapons and Carson Wentz's ankles? It's like hello,
Right.
run the football. But also, again, to your point, when Derrick Henry is doing Derrick Henry things, you got to move the ball a little bit quicker so that way you can score quicker because they're going to eat a bunch of clock. But yeah, and you said it with the defense, forcing 3 turnovers, and the Colts offense needs to execute on them. Now, I don't know where they were on the field. I guess I could look at that right now, but you got to score some points every single time you get a turnover. And that's one of the key things. And that's just basic football 101. If you get a turnover, you're scoring or you're at least getting a first down to shave off an extra couple of minutes on the clock. So definitely Titans are in position to cruise to the AFC South title. But as we all know, things do change. And Joe, this was a game that yeah, I mean, you've been talking about the Chargers the entire season, baby. You were
Oh,
saying that they're going to compete with the Chiefs. You wanted to pick them so bad. Even I did as well, but we just, based on the first 2 weeks, we couldn't really trust them to go into Kansas City and win. But they did. They won 30-24. Of course, Mahomes had a couple of very questionable interceptions for someone like
yeah.
Patrick Mahomes. So shout out to Brandon Staley. And Austin Eckler said yesterday or the day before in the Pat McAfee show, he was like, we fucking ride with Brandon Staley. This guy has a great game plan. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's talking about. And he's like, this is our guy. He was like, we're riding into the sunset with him. And hopefully that sunset is a Super Bowl in our own stadium. So Chargers pull it off. And basically what we thought, Justin Herbert played very well. Mike Williams went off again. He is going to get paid this year. And again, on the Chiefs side, aside from those Mahomes interceptions, wasn't terrible. They didn't look too bad. I mean, they scored 24 points. They were moving the ball, but big issue is the Chiefs secondary. But then again, Chargers came in with a great game plan. Joe, talk about, I guess, I'm sorry, Los Angeles Chargers. You've been riding them hot all season long and even beforehand. So let's talk about this game.
Yeah, I mean, this was a huge win for Brandon Staley and for Justin Herbert. Just kind of like their almost like welcome to the L, welcome to the big boys league moment. Because this is the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chargers have not been able to compete with this division in a while, and
Mhm.
right now it looks like they're going to be right there with them till the end. I mean, for me, I loved everything that I saw from Brandon Staley calling at the end of the game. I know he's not the offensive coordinator, and he's a defensive guy, and he's the one. He's not, calling the plays, but I love the calls at the end of the game to go for it on 4th and 5 instead of kicking the field goal to, you want to score the touchdown, take more time off the clock rather than,
Uh-huh.
just kick a field goal and give it back to Mahomes and hope for the best.
Especially
You know,
because he missed the extra point. So he
exactly.
probably might have missed that field goal. And again, like we said last week with the
He
Ravens,
missed two.
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah,
Yeah, he
I've
was
seen
one of
that. Yeah.
two.
Yeah. And as we said last week about the Ravens wins, you do not give Patrick Mahomes back the football and we'll talk about this with Aaron Rodgers too. You do not give these quarterbacks time, especially in a one-score game. Now, if a field goal
Right.
had them go up maybe 8 points, then
Right.
sure, maybe you do kick the field goal because worst case you're going into overtime, but you don't give them the football back.
Exactly. So I love the call by Brandon Staley, and the trust and confidence in Justin Herbert, and just that offense. It was awesome. I mean, that is exactly what I always want to see out of my head coach, and just in general. Like I hate all of these conservative
Mhm,
approaches, especially when it's Tom Brady who's getting the ball back, Patrick Mahomes.
mhm.
Like, we know what's going to happen. We've seen this. Like, why do you think that your defense is going to be the one to stop him this time? Like,
Right.
come on, just put it in your hands and not, not put the ball back in Mahomes' hands and, leave it up to him. So I love the call. That's what I think was
Especially
the deciding factor in
Yeah,
that
and
game.
especially on a 4th and 5, obviously 4th and inches, 4th and 2. Sure, it's a no-brainer, go for it. But that's also just trusting your defense because, like you said, they were in field goal range, but also that trusting your defense being like, hey, if we don't get this, I know we are going to stop them or for some 55, 58-yard field goal. So
And
again,
Tim,
worst case, we're going to OT.
and not only even 4th and 5. I think it was 4th and 4, 4th and 5, and then there was a false start, so it ended up being 4th and 9, and they still went for it on
That is
fourth and
correct.
nine,
And it was
and they
on the
got the
Kansas
first
City,
down.
yeah, on the Kansas City 35. So that's 40, 49, 50-yard field
Yes,
goal,
it
of
was it
course.
was in field goal range, and they still went for it. Even on 4th and 9. So
Now, of course, they
that
did get a pass interference, but still, it's the fact that they
right.
went for it.
Exactly. You don't have that opportunity, unless you go for it. So I just love that mentality. It's sometimes it's not about the numbers or analytics. Joe Judge out here, like
Hmm.
if games were won on Excel sheets, Bill Gates would, be a Super Bowl winning head coach. To a degree, he's right. It's not always about the numbers. Sometimes it is a gut thing. I'm sure the numbers did not encourage him to go for it on 4th and 9, and at that point in the game, but he did, and they got it, and they won. And ultimately, when you're playing a Patrick Mahomes, a Tom Brady, whoever, one of those guys, that's what you have to do to win the game. And we're seeing teams like the Ravens and the Chargers, and hopefully, the team that they face this week, do that as well. So, that's how you beat Kansas City. Don't give them the opportunity to win the game. You go
Yeah,
win it.
and of course, Joe Judge is going to say that. And you just mentioned the Chargers and the Ravens. When you have Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, when you have Mike Williams, or when you have Lamar Jackson and the Ravens offensive scheme, of course, like analytics will say go for it, at least with your personnel. I can see why Joe Judge looking at Daniel Jones and Kenny Galladay being like, yeah, no. And also, shout out to Rashawn Slater, the first round tackle for the Chargers. I think in the first 3 weeks, he only has one pressure allowed. So that is excellent pick and also excellent development for the Chargers. So definitely excited to see that rematch. I want to say it's a Thursday night game later in the season, so definitely could have divisional implications. And the fact that it's in LA only gives the Chargers a slighter advantage being the home team on a Thursday night. And now it's time to move on to the 4 o'clock slate, Joe. First game, Broncos beat the Jets 26 to 0. Teddy Bridgewater doing exactly what he was asked to do, not make mistakes, manage the game, move the ball. And Jets are bad. Shocking.
Yeah, not a whole lot else to say. I mean, I think one thing that people are concerned about is Matt LaFleur's offense. I mean, or is it? It's Mike LaFleur. I'm sorry. Um,
Mhm.
the other LaFleur. Um, and I mean, I mean, 0 points. I mean, I know it's a good Broncos defense, and you have a rookie quarterback and not a lot of talent, but kind of like we were talking about with the Bears. Put these guys in better positions to
Mhm.
succeed. Give them some easy throws. Some screens, some rollouts. Just something to get them into a rhythm, and we're just not seeing that. And you know, I'm I don't know. I mean, I guess people, if you're a Jets fan, you might be concerned about Zach Wilson. I mean, coming from BYU, looking good there, and against that level of competition, and now in the NFL, just we're not really seeing it. I mean, it's the big story right now. The rookie quarterbacks are not playing well compared to the rookie quarterbacks that we've seen the last couple of years come in and play really well off the jump.
Yeah, yeah, and I follow a couple of Jets fans on Twitter, and I think I saw a stat the other day saying that his completion percentage is like 55 or 56. But if you factor in the drop passes and something that had to do with the pressure that, or maybe like sacks or something like that, his completion percentage would be like 72, 73, which is very good in the NFL. So, of course, definitely some fixes for the Jets. So I'm not ruling it out on Zach Wilson yet. I think it's more so the rest of the team. But yeah, definitely not good. And we'll see about the Broncos too. We'll see if they're for real playing the Ravens. They're currently favored. It's in Denver, so that makes sense right now and the way the Ravens are playing. So we'll see if the Broncos might be a legitimate contender playing a team that has won a football game, combined 0 for 9 for the Broncos opponents. But I think that's
Mhm.
enough about this game. And was a very interesting game in Vegas. The Raiders beating the Dolphins 31-28 in overtime. Both teams kicked a field goal in overtime, and then the Raiders marched down in a couple of minutes to kick again and get a score. And obviously we liked what we saw from Jacoby Brissett. The Dolphins defense was there. He moved the ball, and we know that Brissett did very well when in Indianapolis and even New England in his couple of starts there. So by no means was this starting a Zach Wilson per se. Now, Joe, my question is, does this kind of take back the Raiders' first 2 weeks and then maybe being a legitimate contender? Or is this because they were playing a Dolphins team with good coaching and some decent personnel?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Mhm.
Like I'm still just not really sold on the Raiders just yet. I mean, Derek Carr is still playing pretty good. Defense is. I mean, this was against Jacoby Brissett,
Right.
and the defense allowed. What'd you say the final score was? I'm sorry. I know it was
30,
over 20
31 to
points.
28 in overtime, and it
Yeah,
was 25-25 going into overtime.
right, right. So I mean, 25 points to Jacoby Brissett. I mean, after playing so well the first couple weeks, like I said, I'm just not sold on the
Well, I
Raiders
think one
just
of
yet.
Dolphins did score a defensive touchdown as well, and I think so did the Raiders. So, but I think the
Right.
Dolphins did get a pick six. So yeah, you're talking then what if you take away eight because I think they went for 2 on 1 touchdown basically. So then you're looking at 17 offensive points. Then yeah. And we're back. Sorry about those technical difficulties. But Joe, yes, 25 points minus eight because they had to go for two. So 17, 16, 17, 18 offensive points to Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I guess you could take away that touchdown, and yeah, it's a lower scoring game, but still just a close game, and not as decisive a victory as I'd like to see over a Dolphins team that's struggling right now. So it is a good coaching staff in Miami. I mean, I do like Brian Flores.
Mhm.
And Jacoby is a very good backup quarterback. I mean, we saw why this week. But if you're the Raiders and you're for real, then this is a team that you should be able to handle.
Absolutely. And I will give credit to the Raiders for the comeback because it started with the pick six, then they got the ball back quickly. So it was 14 nothing. They got a safety in the at the end of the first quarter by a very questionable play call from the Dolphins. Well, more so good execution from that defensive back to read that and make the open field tackle for sure. So down 14 nothing. I will give credit to Derek Carr and that offense for mounting that comeback. But then again, on the flip side, like we were just talking about, you're going up against Jacoby Brissett, backup quarterback. So yeah, I'm not ruling out the Raiders yet. We'll see as they play the Chargers or even the Chiefs within their own division. So I still have no reason to believe that this team shouldn't be competing with the Dolphins for a wild card. And that's a whole nother thing too. That's a huge tiebreaker.
Right.
Is beating the Dolphins in this game. So the Dolphins get the Colts up next, and the Raiders have a tough opponent too. I can't remember off they might be playing the Chargers. Not quite sure. But now moving on to a game, Joe, where we did not expect the Minnesota Vikings to shut out Russell Wilson, a September Russell Wilson, in the second half, winning 30-17. That puts you at 9-4 for the week. Myself 8-5, and I'll be at 8 wins for the next couple of games. Just a little teaser for you guys. Yeah, but Vikings win 30-17. I mean, even without Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison had, I believe, 115, 120 yards rushing. Kirk Cousins didn't really turn the ball over, managed the game well, and Seattle's defense is awful.
Yeah, I mean, Kirk Cousins had one of his best games of his career, probably. I mean, he really spread the ball around to everyone, got their tight end Conklin involved. Um, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen,
Justin
both having very
Jefferson,
good
yeah,
games.
nine
Yes,
catches, 118 yards, and a touchdown
I'm familiar with him.
with him.
But I'm really impressed with the Vikings defense, kind of bouncing
Mhm.
back after, a very rough couple of weeks and, shutting down a very potent Seattle offense. But I mean, I think Tyler Lockett getting injured and going out really deflated Seattle. I mean, he's such a leader for this team, and you saw everyone come over and really surround him and really kind of feel that emotion in that moment. And then the offense wasn't really able to move the ball after that much at all. So
Mhm.
I think that he just has a really big impact on the Seahawks offense, and I hope he's able to come back soon. But very impressive win for the Vikings and for Kirk Cousins. I'll give him his credit, but it wasn't prime time, so not too much prime time at least.
They do have a couple of primetime games coming up. Yeah, I think I was reading some stat as well that's saying in like the last like 12 or 13 games, Kirk Cousins has been like a top five quarterback. And of course, primetime Kirk Cousins, we all know him. But the key is just don't turn the ball over. He's a very He's a decent quarterback, very manageable quarterback. If he doesn't turn the ball over, the Vikings are going to be a very successful team, especially with that powerful run game. But yeah, I think the key is that defense, especially in the second half. Honestly, even really the second quarter, because Seattle went up 17-7 early, first 4 or 5 minutes of the second quarter, and then we're just shut out. So definitely some solid defensive adjustments, especially in that secondary, locking down Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. So we'll see about the Vikings. I mean, we've been seeing the Packers the first couple of weeks. This, if the Vikings can get a good roll, this is easily a winnable division for them, not for the Lions or Bears, of course. But they, if anybody's going to compete with the Packers, it's this current Vikings team.
I mean, yeah, if there is anyone who's going to compete with them, then yeah, it is the Vikings. But I mean, I don't see that really being a close competition. I mean, I'll take Aaron Rodgers versus Kirk Cousins every single time.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably roll out the Vikings. Looking at their schedule now, they got the Browns this week, then the Lions, and who knows the way the Lions are playing: Panthers, Cowboys, Ravens, Chargers, Packers, 49ers. So we'll rule out the Vikings. But hey, if they do get hot, win a couple of games, who knows, man? Who knows? And Seahawks definitely need to bounce back in that division. This was a game that you needed to win, knowing that you probably will, at best, maybe split your division. So we'll see about Russell Wilson and the Seahawks as well. That defense needs a little bit of work, and it's certainly not going to be any easier once they play some divisional games for sure. Any final thoughts on the Vikings Seahawks, Joe?
I mean, this is what we were talking about with Jamal Adams. I mean, you spent
Hmm.
so many picks, high picks on a safety who doesn't even spend a ton of time covering, and when he doesn't do it that well.
Hmm.
So, you know, this is the result of what we're seeing. You don't have guys who can cover in the secondary, and when you face good wide receivers and decent quarterback play, they're going to be able to pick you apart. And we saw exactly that happen. So, Jamal Adams, man, he's a big name guy, and he's a great at getting sacks for a safety, but that's your job as a safety is to cover. And if you don't do that well, you're probably not worth those picks or that contract.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now moving on to another NFC West team, the Los Angeles Rams defeating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 34-24. My extreme prediction this year of the Bucks going undefeated lasted until week 3, of course, but I did predict the Jaguars going 1-15 last year, not to brag. But yes, Matthew Stafford and the Rams pull it out against Tom Brady's Buccaneers. Defense had a great game plan. The Rams offense with Matthew Stafford moving the ball very well. Again, kind of like Kirk Cousins dishing it out to everybody. Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee. So this was a complete game from the Rams, and I don't think I'm ready to say that they are the best team in the NFC, because I do think Tampa would give them a better game in January or even February. I think conference championships now in February. So like, I'm excited to see this rematch if it does happen in the playoffs. But the Rams right now, I'll say that they're the best team in the NFC.
Yeah, you left a guy's name off of those weapons that you listed, Tim, and his name is Deshaun Jackson, and he
How could I
still
forget?
has that speed. I mean, this is such an explosive offense, and we're seeing exactly why Sean McVay wanted Matt Stafford. I mean, when he had Jared Goff, all of their big passing plays were essentially off of play action. And that's how you had to kind of create those big plays down the field. With Matt Stafford, you can just take a 5-step drop, launch it deep to Deshaun Jackson, to Van Jefferson, Tutu Atwell,
Hmm.
whoever it is. They've got speed. They've got the guys who can run the routes and make the contested catches. And Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. Tyler Higbee's doing well. Offensive line's playing fine. The run game is their passing game opens up their run game because their passing game is
Hmm.
so explosive. And we're just seeing different guys really have the big plays week in and week out. And I thought they did such a great job of just attacking down the field against a depleted Buccaneers secondary. A lot of people getting on the Bucks defense and their pass rush for not showing up so far this season. I
Hmm.
think that just a huge part of that is their secondary is injured, so they don't have that extra second or two where the quarterback has to hold on to the ball to get home or make that impact play. And we're starting to see that. On the flip side, it was a concern. I felt like without Antonio Brown that Jalen Ramsey would do very well against Mike Evans, and then sorry, low battery notification, but I'm here. You
Ooh,
see me? I'm
I
here.
got you,
Um,
baby. We got a couple
Still
more
going,
games.
still going. And Jalen Ramsey did very good against Mike Evans, and then the rest of the defense kind of slowed down Chris Godwin and Gronkowski enough. And Brady didn't have his best game, so just a very good defensive game plan, very good offensive game plan. Um, the Rams just showed up the Bucks this weekend, in a really good game. So I think right now they are the best team in the NFL.
Yeah, and they play the Cardinals this week, then they play at Seattle on a Thursday night, so a short week. But then the games after those two, if they can get past Arizona and then at Seattle on a short week, Giants, Lions, and Texans. So we could definitely be talking about the Rams being 7-0, 8-0, 9-0, of course. So yeah, they're definitely uh right there with Tampa Bay and some of the teams in the AFC is the best in the NFL for sure. And it does seem like Stafford is that missing piece. Tampa Bay going on the road to New England, so they'll definitely be bouncing back. They're still going to likely win that division. We'll see, but exciting things coming in LA for both teams. And now moving on to Sunday night football, Joe. Sunday night football, the Packers defeat the 49ers 30-28, went up 17-0. 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, Jimmy Garoppolo, Kyle Juszczyk, and Debo Samuel and company mounted a comeback, took the lead, but again, Aaron Rodgers, 37 seconds. Now, granted, no timeouts, but still. And he even said in the postgame, he's like, I just was trying to find Devontae and throw to him. Triple cover him. Like, let Robert Tonyan beat you for 30 yards, not Devontae
Yeah.
Adams being that wide open. So Aaron Rodgers mounts a drive down the field and a couple of passes for Mason Crosby to hit, I believe, a 51-yard field goal, which is pretty good, pretty easy for him. Packers pull away the victory against the 49ers. So that leaves you at 11-4. Myself at 8-7, Joe. Yikes. But thoughts on the Sunday night game?
Yeah, it was a big win for Green Bay. I mean, after all the noise of this offseason and struggling week one against the Saints and, not looking great against the Lions, very big win against a team that, they've struggled to beat in the past and, has run the ball very effectively on them in the past. And we didn't really see that happen this game. The offense was clicking and, their defense, is pretty injured still. I mean, this is what I was kind of talking about against the Eagles. I wasn't really impressed with the 49ers that week.
Mhm.
And, I felt like if there was a better quarterback, better receivers, they'd be able to expose that secondary a little bit more. And that's really what we saw.
Mhm.
On the flip side with the Niners on offense, I think a lot of people are, you know, giving Jimmy G and, the Niners a lot of credit for coming back and making it a close game. But in that first half, I really felt like, Jimmy G could have been benched at halftime. He
He
was
was.
not
Oh,
playing
absolutely.
well at all. I mean, a lot of missed throws, poor decisions. You get pressure on Jimmy G, he gets so skittish in the pocket. He's not good off script. He's really just got to be in rhythm and on time with the throws, or he makes some questionable decisions. So, I feel like if you had a Trey Lance in this game and he was at his best, it would be kind of reminiscent of that Colin Kaepernick game
Mhm.
against Green Bay when Frank Gore and Kaepernick were both running all over that Packers defense, and this could have been Trey Lance and Trey Sermon. Oh, that would have been so cool, running all over the Packers defense. And maybe there's a different outcome. I mean, but like you said, if you give Aaron Rodgers the ball with time left, it's the game is not over
Yeah.
one bit. Never, not with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got some NFC West matchups coming up. The Packers are the opposite of the Rams. They have the Seahawks this week and then the Cardinals next week. So we'll definitely kind of see how that division comes out, but definitely a game that the 49ers should have won. Packers, as we just talked about with the Vikings, seem likely candidates to run away with that division for sure. And that wraps up Sunday's slate. Now, Monday Night Football. Joe, I know your battery is dying, and we're getting to the end of the show. So I won't ask you if it's time for Joe Flacco to be the Eagles quarterback. But Cowboys defeat the Eagles 41-21. Eagles offense did not look good. Neither did the defense. I mean, they did get that defensive touchdown by Fletcher Cox, one of the best to ever do it down there on the D line. But yeah, yeesh, Joe, I'll just let you talk about this.
Yeah, very bad game on pretty much all sides of the ball. I think that when you're assigning blame for what went wrong in this game, it's I think it's pretty equal between Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts in this
Mhm.
game. I mean, this was, you know, a terrible game plan by Nick Sirianni, in my opinion. Going out and trying to outscore, and win a shootout against a team well equipped to win a shootout.
Mhm.
What? Like, this is the Eagles are not a well equipped team to win a shootout. This
Better
is
not have
that's
that same game plan this week.
I would hope not. But, like, this our offensive line is not 100%. The Cowboys defensive line is very banged up. I have a lot of people out. Why are you not running the football more?
Mhm.
Miles Sanders got 2 carries the entire game. Kenny Gainwell got 1 carry. I think that was it for the running backs. 3 carries the entire game. That's so bad. I mean, the formula to win this game would have been keep their defense off the field, play ball control offense, and just win a low scoring game. Just hang in there. Just keep hanging around in there. Try to make some plays. And it just didn't happen. So, very disappointed with the game plan, but also very disappointed with Jalen Hurts and his
Mhm.
gameplay. A lot of missed throws, a lot of plays left on the field, leaving the pocket too early, poor interceptions. The first interception deep to Jalen Rager.
Mhm.
First of all, Jalen Rager, come on, make a play, do something. But at the same time, very poor underthrown ball. I mean,
Mhm.
the concerns about Jalen Hurts are arm talent, his arm strength and his arm accuracy. And those are both they both showed up big time Monday night with, just not being able to push the ball down the field, just missing a lot of easy throws, making poor decisions. He had another interception. It was a pick six to Trayvon Diggs, and Devontae Smith fell down on the route. But I think that Jalen's actually lucky Devontae fell down
Mhm.
on the route because I think it was that bad of a throw anyway that it was going to be a pick six one way or the other. So it was bad, man. I mean, and then I think that the next level of blame goes on Jonathan Gannon and
Mhm.
just this defensive game plan. I mean, you know, adjust, dude, adjust. They're just running the ball right down our throats, and we didn't stop them at all. This D line is missing Brandon Graham. We've tried to go cheap at linebacker year after year, still not working, believe it or not. So maybe invest in that position. And the secondary just wasn't able to make any plays. I mean, Javon Hargrave is having such a great year for D tackle, and Fletcher Cox next to him. He needs to, also show up. But the rest of the team, nobody really came to play, and it was just very disappointing altogether. I mean, Cowboys are the better team, and more talented. And I mean, this is a very young, inexperienced coaching staff. So hopefully something to build on, but not encouraging after the first week or after last week, for Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts to come out and look like this once again. Definitely not an encouraging look for Jalen Hurts as the franchise guy when you have 17 games to prove that you're the guy, and right now he's had 1 very good game and 2 very bad games. So not looking great. But I don't
No,
think it's Flacco time.
no, it's
Not Flacco
not.
time.
But there's another quarterback in your quarterback room who has quite an arm. Yes, it's Gardner Minshew, but sorry. But yes, so yeah, a bad game from the Eagles. Cowboys did exactly what they needed to do. Now we're moving on to the Thursday night
Oh,
football.
one other thing. More offensive line injuries. Isaac Seumalo broke his foot. He's out for the season. So right now, we were already down Jordan Mailata and Brandon Brooks. Isaac Seumalo's out. We're 14 offensive line combinations coming right up. We're about to break our own record, get 15 or 16. Let's go.
Yeah, okay, then don't put in Flacco, put in Minshew. But yeah, before we move on, or before we, yeah, we're done with week 3 now. Now it's time to pick the week 4 Thursday night football game. We got the most electric matchup in the NFL, Joe. We got the Jacksonville Jaguars going on the road to the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals are a 7.5 point favorite. The over under is at 46. Joe Burrow got the best of Trevor Lawrence in the national championship game. Thank God. Um, does Trevor Lawrence get his revenge this week?
I don't think he does, but I think it's possible. I mean, I don't. I'll be very interested to see how the Bengals do this game. Like I said earlier when we were talking about them, are they better than we thought, or are the Steelers that bad? So the way that they play this game will really, kind of, I think, speak
Mhm.
volumes about how the quality of this team really is. Um, Jesse Bates is injured and out, so I'm concerned for the Bengals defense. I was looking to pick him up and stream him this week in a couple leagues, and then I saw Jesse Bates is out, and I switched that up real quick. So I feel like this could be a game Trevor Lawrence plays well. Maybe gets back on track. I could see this being a pretty close game. But I think ultimately I'm gonna right now I'm sticking with the Bengals and Joe Burrow. I mean, they've been playing really good football. The Jaguars have not.
Mhm.
We haven't seen Urban Meyer or Trevor do it or beat a quality opponent yet. We just saw the Bengals beat the Steelers, a huge game, riding that momentum, riding high. Jamar Chase, ball out for me, baby. I'm benching Mike Evans for you.
Yeah, I'm going with the Bengals as well. The Jaguars are bad. Just don't trust them yet. I think you are right. I think it will be a closer game. I don't want to be drinking the Bengals Kool-Aid, but the Jaguars are bad. So I'm going to go with the Bengals in this one for sure. That's going to wrap up this week's episode, our week 3 recap and our week 4 Thursday night football prediction. If you guys haven't already, hit that thumbs up button to like this video and subscribe to our channel as well. Joey D, any final words on your end, my friend?
Think that's all I got, Timmy B. Shout out, all the homies who want to come on. We'd love to have you. Let's get Fabrador, Alex Fabregat on here. Talk about his undefeated Carolina Panthers. Trenton Hunter. Big Colts guy. Get him on. Talk about and James Taylor. Let's get both of these guys to come in and talk about why their teams have yet to notch a victory with the Colts and the Giants. So if you want to come on, we would love to have you talk about why your team is doing good or why you hate your life and your name is Trent Hunter or James Taylor. So, shout out those guys. Shout out Fab. I love you, buddy. You're the man.
Yeah, hey, those are some great final words. That's Joey D over there, and I'm Timmy B, wishing you all a great day, and we'll see you soon. Peace.